I think that a special group that I'm always mindful of after disasters is in fact the teaching and education staff watching this podcast. I mean, you are probably aware how prominent you are in the life of children. They are with you for 6 or 7 hours a day. But also in rural Australia and country Australia, how prominent you are in the life of that town. I think as professionals you need to be very mindful of your own mental health and your own emotional well-being. Now there are going to be things which are very inconvenient. You might have lost resources, you might have lost the wonderful plans you've used for the last couple of years and we're going to use them next week, and you have to recreate all those resources. You might have lost your written knowledge of the last few years. It just might be more inconvenient getting to your school, and in your mind, because you're part of the caring professions, you might be worried for these 30 kids in front of you. The fact of the matter is, if students and principals fall over, that's bad for children's mental health. So I would say to you that you need to concentrate on education. You need to not concentrate primarily on the mental health of children, although you're fundamental in helping their mental health. If kids have a mental health issue, then we need to be directing them into services who are trained and dedicated to do that. And you yourself, remember I said earlier there were 2 little experiments you could do, thinking about your own trauma experience and going back to traumatic places. I mean, you need to be thinking about whether you need some help in terms of counselling and whether you actually need to see your GP or a psychologist. I've never seen anyone particularly harmed by seeing a psychologist. These are good people to see and to talk to. So I think that, as education staff and as staff that are responsible for, have a duty of care for others, we need very much to spend a little time, and I would purposely do this, maybe when all the kids have left and you have that little window of peace at the end of the school day, before you go home and see your own children and your own spouse, I would sit down and say, well, how am I travelling? How am I doing? How did I get through that day all right? Am I worried about getting through tomorrow? Do I need to be mindful about doing things tonight that I've always found relaxing? Okay, if you always found, doing exercise relaxing, you need to exercise tonight. If you always found reading relaxing, you need to do that. Or playing a musical instrument or watching your favourite video or whatever. You need to make sure you're doing things that are looking after your mental health. Because at the end of the day, we don't want you to fall over, and we want you to be able to provide the educational needs of children.